Go straight on. Turn left. It's all over now.
Thank you, Skynet. Hello, I am Simulator Dirk and welcome back to Euro Truck Simulator. It's been quite some time. I've just been on a 31-hour ferry ride from the Middle East and we are in Greece and we are in the middle of an epic delivery of what's quite appropriately train undercarriage, as it says in-game. So here's our load, and we are in Greece. We've just come from the Middle East. There we go, that's a good screenshot. So let's get in the truck, say hi once again to Skynet, and we'll bring you up to speed as we go on. It's Monday morning, just before 8 AM, and we are in Greece.
Turn left.
Skynet's back with us, and this is Euro Truck Simulator version 1.40. And we are recording for the first time that will hopefully work in Europe for quite some time. This is episode 15.
Get ready to turn right.
Thank you, Skynet. Episode 15 of Euro Truck Simulator. It has been
Turn
quite
right.
some time, so where have I been? I have been in Japan for the Japan Truck Simulator series, and I've also been in the Middle East for the Middle Eastern
At
Truck
the
series,
take the third exit.
and now we're back in Europe to deliver this load. Thank you, mate. To deliver this load of train undercarriage. So it's quite a long trip.
Exit now.
Monday morning, almost 8 AM Monday morning after our 31-hour ferry trip. Now, if I was to drive continuously, I would arrive in the early hours of Tuesday morning. 19 hours and 43 minutes, so basically 20 hours of driving time if I was allowed to do that continuously. About 1,400 kilometres. Now, fortunately, I can't drive all of that in one hit because that would just be ridiculous. Our window is actually Thursday between 9 AM and 3 PM. So we've got a lot of driving ahead of us, we've got a lot of time ahead of us, and a couple of rest stops ahead of us. And we're also exploring areas that I haven't explored
right,
before.
And then exit right.
That I haven't explored before in Euro Truck Simulator. It's been quite some time.
Exit right.
And this episode comes to you with the map mod, or European map mod by Pro Tools, protools.net. And they basically expanded the map into places that you can't get yet without using a map mod. For instance, we're in Greece now. You can't get into Greece at the moment if you were just using the vanilla game. But there's been a massive amount of work done by the Promods team, and the localization is absolutely fantastic so far from what I've seen, both in Europe, America, Canada, various Middle Eastern countries that you can see in Middle Eastern Truck Simulator, and in Europe. Now, I did record a massive drive which got me into the Middle East in the first place. Went across Europe into the Middle East, but unfortunately I've had some issues. I've changed the way that I've recorded to give me more control of the audio, and unfortunately the truck audio wasn't recorded very well. So while you can hear me awesomely, a big part of it is also listening to the trucks and the environment and those sort of things. So I scrapped that big long European episode, and now we've got this big long European episode that you're now watching to take its place. There will be episodes in the American series, and with the American series I've stopped using the tools or the map mods that I was using before, and I'm using Promods, which have developed in bits of America and parts of Canada. They're coming up in the future. The Japan Truck Simulator is currently on hold at the moment. There was a massive update to version 1.40, and it's a small team of people with Project Japan that basically...
Keep right, and then exit right.
They recently...
Exit right.
They've recently rescaled their map, and they've added some new cities and some new things to their map, and then it changed from version 1.39 to version 1.40, and so they have to make their mods compatible with 1.40. So I don't know if this is like a trucking way station or an inspection point or a toll. Could be like an inspection, looks like an inspection point. I don't think we're going into another country just yet. Our fatigue meter is awesome. We've got no fatigue because we've only just got off the ferry, so we can basically drive all day. Okay, border check. So they've got this as a border checkpoint. Now it's not necessarily common, thank you, it's not necessarily common to have a lot of border checkpoints in the EU, because there's basically free right of passage in between EU countries. But we're still in Greece. But I don't know where we're going now.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Oh, North Macedonia, okay. So we're heading to North Macedonia,
Turn right.
which I believe isn't part of the EU, so hence the border checkpoints. Now, interestingly, there's a bus lane next to us. There's a few cars, there's one bus and there's a truck.
Keep left.
So you don't see a lot of this in Euro Truck because you can go freely. In between the countries. But I'm presuming that North Macedonia is not part of the EU. Similar sort of thing to when I went into, I think it was went into Hungary. But then again, that was a plane ride rather than driving. So just trucks resting everywhere. If I see, okay, there's a fuel stop. Good as time as any to have a fuel stop. You know, still got half a tank, but
Recomputing.
it's alright, Skynet, we're just going to get some diesel. So we're just going to fill up. Now this is one area of the map that I haven't been into so far. And that's thanks to Promods, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. I haven't been to Macedonia in real life either, so I don't know what to expect. Yeah, I don't know really what to expect. The only time I've really been into Eastern Europe was when I went to Hungary quite a few years ago now. And the main reason that I actually went into Hungary in the first place, there's quite a few European countries that I've spent a little bit of time in. Some I've spent more time than others, and there's some that I haven't visited yet. But one of the reasons why I went there was because they had a town called Irk. Now I'm simulated Irk, yep, I thought, beautiful, I'll go and have a look and I'll check out this place, because Irk's been my nickname since the age of 10 in real life. I'm mid-40s now, so I've had it for quite a number of years. And when you get to see a town that shares your nickname and you find it on the map, hell yeah, I'm going there, because I was going into Europe anyway. So I flew into Hungary, spent a few days there, got a hire car, drove out to the town of Irk, and I wouldn't call it a town, I'd more call it a village, and a very small village at that. There's a few farms, not much else. There's some signs that say, you know, Irk ends here, Irk starts here, but there wasn't it's mainly a small farming community, small farming village, but I enjoyed a little bit of a look at the Eastern European, more of the Soviet era. Had Hungary and Budapest had more of a Eastern European or Soviet feel. It was 2000, I want to say 2011, on the 2011 trip. And it was a case of, you know, it still wasn't really easy to get into Russia at the time compared to now. Now I think it's a little bit easier now to get into Russia. But it was definitely interesting to be in that part of Europe, get a sort of feel to how Russia would sort of look and feel, sort of thing. Because growing up, it was often a case of you know, America versus the USSR as it was then. Now Russia and all the other member countries that the USSR split into. But it was, I wouldn't say the great unknown like North Korea, but in terms of you know, certainly was nowhere near as familiar to me as America was. And it wasn't as familiar to me as other parts of Europe were. So the Promods team have done a really good job of localizing the countries that they're in. Like I'm in North Macedonia at the moment. The street signs look different in terms of directional signs and that sort of thing. They look different to what they did in Greece, you know, to what they do in Germany, to what they do in France. You know, things like the police vehicles is a big one because you always see them on the road. And good example of that's been in the Middle Eastern series, all the different countries that you can go to on the Middle Eastern maps. They're very good at localization. Like I've never been to Greece, I've never been to Macedonia, North Macedonia, any of the Macedonia. But I can feel, just by looking at the local street signs, you know, I have obviously met people from Macedonia, but you can feel that, you know, it looks legit enough to say, yeah, I'm in somewhere that is an English-speaking country primarily. You know, the exit signs don't look the same as they do here in North Macedonia. They don't look the same as they do in Greece. They don't look the same as in Germany, in Spain, in France, in England, in Austria. You know, they do look different. Is there a lot of traffic? No, not really. But I do feel like, you know, there's been a great amount of effort to have everything look like, you know, just not copy and paste. Because all of Europe, as much as the 415 kilometres to Belgrade, okay, there's a toll up ahead. As much as the EU's made things a lot easier, you know, the countries still have their distinctive look and feel, even though there's a lot of things that are standard across the EU. You know, things like the toll booths, the border checkpoints. Probably would be still using Euro Truck and American Truck if I was not using map mods. But the map mods have certainly increased the amount that I'm driving, and it's increased the amount of territory that I can explore. You know, am I going to explore 100% of the roads, 100% of the 100% of the cities? Probably not. Would I have done that anyway in Euro Truck or American Truck Simulator, even if it was vanilla with just the DLCs that SCS have released? Probably not. I know I tried that and I did that in New Mexico, and it was an effort to,
Keep right, and then exit right.
and it was fun, mind you, trying to get to every city in New Mexico.
Exit
So
right.
we're coming up to another border checkpoint here, Sky. We're making good time. Well, we're driving well. And then I get the trailer stuck. Yeah, we're good. Now, my European geography knowledge isn't that super. Everything is in order. Have a nice journey. So it looks like we're leaving North Macedonia. And where are we going? That's a very good question. No doubt this sign's about to tell me.
Keep right, and then exit right.
Serbia. Okay. We're coming into Serbia. I know it's Serbian, dude, reasonably well, but we're in Serbia now.
Exit right.
So between non-EU countries, every country's got their own border.
Go straight on.
Whereas if you're going EU to EU, there's none of this stopping at checkpoints, etc. But it's really good. So this is our third country of this episode, and we went through 2 countries in the Middle Eastern section. Now, with all the borders that I've went through on Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, and also in the Middle Eastern series, I've never had a drama getting through any of the checkpoints. I don't think the system says is capable of saying, your documents aren't in order, your passport's expired. Now this is really smart, having service stations just before or after the border. That's really smart. And rest areas too, which is good. I want to keep driving as far as I can into the night and do as little night driving as I possibly can. There's another toll coming up. That sign said in English, stop and take the ticket. As well, when I was doing the Middle Eastern series, was that I knew basically that there's a lot of stuff going down politically in the Middle East. You know, I didn't necessarily know who was fighting with who gets on with who was fighting with who used to get on, etc. You know, I basically knew the Middle East as one big civilization differences. When you were going into Syria, it was a lot different if you were heading into Lebanon or Israel. The Gaza Strip, now it all looked pretty bleak in places on the sim. And then I thought, what it really looks like. I wonder, what it really looks like in real life. And I watched quite a few documentaries about the Middle East to bring myself up to speed, because when I was in high school, we've got a breakdown here. When I was in high school, I didn't do a lot of history. In our first year of high school, we did 6 months of geography, 6 months of history, and then we had to decide which way we were going to what we were going to specialise in from the second year of high school, and we had to choose between history and geography. We couldn't do both. If you were doing history, the geography period will be alongside it, so you couldn't do both. And the only history that was available was like generalised history until senior high school, when you could specialise further into ancient and modern history. But I didn't really know what I was going to be up against for the 3 years before that. So I did geography all the way through high school, and even then, the world's geography in the late 1980s, early 1990s is a lot different to what world geography is right now in 2021. Just speaking about Europe, because we're in simulated Europe at the moment, simulated Europe was a lot different in the time period where I was in high school. As a classic, for instance, my early years at high school, Germany was still divided into West Germany and East Germany. The Berlin Wall, from when we came down in 1989, I was in Year 9 in high school. And so a lot of geography was rewritten effectively, because East Germany and West Germany combined to become Germany. And then later on, it was by the time that I left high school, the USSR split up, or the Soviet Union, as it was known. And so there's a lot of different countries and territories that weren't necessarily a thing when I was in high school. And then of course there's the Middle East and the various conflicts and internal conflicts, the West versus the Middle East versus the Middle East, etc. So when it came to the Middle East, I had no idea really who was fighting with who and how bad the conditions were. And I had a look at some videos on the Middle East, what's going on there currently, and it has to be said that there's no real winners at all. Lebanon's really bad. Syria, Iraq, Jordan's probably doing the best out of all of them. In Israel possibly. I watched one video that suggested that the Gaza Strip, which borders Israel and Egypt, would basically be unlivable in 2020 because of what's been going on over there. And I thought, well, gee, it looks pretty grim in Truck Simulator, and people behind the Promods Middle Eastern map have basically said we want to keep religion and politics out of the maps as much as we can. You know, it's not our job as map mod creators to give commentary on what the Middle Eastern situation is like. We just want you to drive the map. Basically, we just want you to drive the map and have fun driving the map, to be able to say that you're driving a simulated truck in the Middle East. And that's what I tried to do as well. Tried to, you know, sure, I'd point out some differences or whatever, but that's down to the localization of the map. Now, I basically feel sorry for anybody living over there. Doesn't matter if they're living in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, wherever. Everyone's in a bad situation over there. You know, and it's not me as someone who's running a channel for entertainment. Mostly my own entertainment, it has to be said. It's not up to me to give you my views on the Middle East or even various conflicts in Europe. There's nowhere near as much going on in Europe as what there is in the Middle East. You know, what I think of the Middle Eastern situation, or what I know of the Middle Eastern situation, really isn't going to make much difference. I just want to get in my simulated truck.
Keep left.
Thank you, Skynet. I just want to get in my simulated truck, just drive along, have some fun, drive different types of trucks, drive different loads, and just have fun. And it's always been a part where I've always said I'm doing things on simulated Earth that I would probably never be able to do in real life. I've got no desire to be a truck driver in real life. I've got no desire of being a bus driver in real life. I'm certainly not going to be an airline pilot in real life. Can I have fun trying to do those in the real world? Yeah, of course I can. You know, I've recorded 30 plus episodes of Microsoft Flight Simulator that's in various stages of being released. And I had a lot of fun doing that, and now I've given that a bit of a break because of time constraints with the real place of employment. Because I wanted to get a fair bit done when I was on my annual leave, and I did a lot of flying, simulated flying. Whereas I've got some time spare tonight, because what I'm doing tonight at the time of recording is I am doing an all-nighter. It's just gone 3 AM local time, and I'm lucky that I can do that where I am. And there's no dramas. I live alone. Yeah, I'm in an apartment. Nobody can hear me. You know, the insulation and everything, the soundproofing is good, so I can do this at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't bother. Bother anyone. But I'm doing an all-nighter because I've just had a couple of days off, and then I go into what is effectively a night shift, where I don't start, it's just 3 AM local time now, I don't start until nearly 11 PM local time tonight, but I still need to have at least 1 if not 2 sleeps before then. So I'm trying to stay up as late as I can. And when I feel tired, I'll stop and then I'll go to sleep. Sleep sleep all day. It's not summertime now, it's mid-April as I'm recording this, so summertime isn't a thing anymore. So the sun will go down, sorry, the sun will come up about, I think it's about 6 a.m, something like that. And I'll get to see the sunrise through the top of the window in the studio of Oak Tower. But I know when I get tired that I'll go to sleep, and I'll sleep most of the day, even if I have a sleep, stay up for a bit, have a nap before I go to work, and then go to work, and then I probably won't do anything when I finish work after the shift. I'll probably go to sleep. No, I probably won't do any gaming now until my next day's off. My next couple of days off, I've got a little bit of shopping to do, because the next days off that I have after that, I'm actually going on a bit of a road trip, which I haven't really done for reasons that haven't been work related or sports commentary related for well over 12 months. And the last time that I'm just trying to think, the last time that I actually travelled, so the last time that I really would have travelled for a reason that wasn't sports commentary related or work related or family related would have been 2014. There's been a couple of trips there where I've combined travel and commentary on sports events, but in a couple of weeks' time, as I'm recording, I'm going for a weekend road trip, and I'm going to a wedding, and that's the only reason that I'm going. It's got nothing to do with sport, it's got nothing to do with work, it's got nothing to do with simulation. It's just to go there for the road trip and to go to the wedding, and that. So it's going to be good. Even when I was on holidays recently, the global pandemic's still going on. I didn't do very much travel at all on my holiday. I didn't really go anywhere. The furthest I went from Oak Tower was probably 2 hours north. I just caught a local bus and I went 2 hours north, and I spent some time on a local beach, had some fish and chips, came back. It was basically a day trip, it wasn't a weekend trip. You know, I had done a bit of driving for work and for sports commentaries.
Keep left.
You are getting sleepy. I'm trying to drive as long as I can while the sun's still up. I know that I've got a couple of sleeps to go. We've still got 810 kilometres to go, so we've got a couple of sleeps to go before we get there. It's Monday night, just after 6 p.m. Our window is Thursday. Still got 800 kilometres to go. I haven't figured out how many kilometres I can drive in a day. Sort of work it on hours. So 11 and a half hours to go. So it's not quite enough to do it on one more sleep. places on the map that I haven't been before. I don't want to waste that by driving at night. Oh, I can hear a train. And in real life, I'd probably made it a bit better and say, well, okay, I'm going from here to here. This is how many hours I can drive in a day, or this is how many kilometres I can drive in a day. This is going to be my rest stop. We've got a rest stop coming up actually, so we'll probably have a rest break up here. On the right there. These spots that you can just drive into, and then when you have your rest you can just drive out of. You don't have to do any fancy reversing or anything like that. We've still got half a tank of fuel, so that's not an issue. We'll stop our engine, we'll have a rest, have a promo, and be back in just a moment and do some more driving. Alrighty, we're back. I'm Simulated Irk. That gives you an idea of some of the transport that's going on around, around Simulated Irk. I've actually had a double rest. We'll get back in the truck. Say good afternoon to Skynet. So to bring you up to date, it's Tuesday afternoon just before 1 PM. We're heading to Salzburg. We've got 20 tonnes of train undercarriage on board. Our window of opportunity is Thursday 9 AM till 4 PM basically. We've got 50 hours, almost 51 hours of our window remaining, and our next rest stop is in 11 hours. Now so we can leave now. I just did a double rest stop. We've got 11 hours of driving remaining. It's Tuesday afternoon. We're not expected until Thursday afternoon, so we've got 2 full days. 2 full days of driving. So I thought we'll have a double rest. We'll have a double rest stop. I would have been starting to drive at like 4 AM, and so 4 AM to midday is 8 hours. So I would have been able to drive till 2 PM effectively. But this way we can knock out most of this before it gets dark, have one more rest and then just cruise in. especially with the truck simulators. I like to basically drive if I can during the day. You know, drive through the night occasionally, or if I have to, a couple of hours here and there. But you know, driving all night and sleeping all day, I don't want to do that. Oh, did I drive in the wrong lane? I think I did. Hang on. This hasn't got a symbol where I can drive. That lane has. Oh, there's even a little X above the thing to say, hey dude, this lane's closed. Which is something that would happen in real life. You know, they don't necessarily have all the lanes open, especially if it's like this situation. It's not done automatically. It's not electronic tolling. I go, oh that's right, it's closed. And then when I reversed back and I saw the red cross, I'm like, yeah, of course it is. And that's exactly what can happen in real life. And that's exactly what you'd have to do in real life. Now how much of this is modelled off the freeway, off the motorway, who knows? But there's a lot of motorway driving in Europe, in between the major centres. There was one road, and I could have saved. What have we got up here? Truck breakdown. Or just truck parking, I think. Just resting on the side of the road. I can't do that for simulated purposes. I have to
keep
rest.
Right and then exit right.
I have to please drive on the right hand side of the road. Okay.
Exit right.
Oh, we must be crossing a border. I have to stop where the icons tell me to stop, otherwise it won't register as actual rest. Whereas in reality you can pull up anywhere that's legal. So we're in Serbia right now. And then you've got a little bit of no man's land in many cases in between the two. Oh, so it says we're heading back into the European Union. That's interesting. Now, it's not often I've seen on these truck simulators where it actually
keep right
actually says
and then
goodbye.
exit right.
Please drive on the right hand side of the road. We're entering the EU. We're in Croatia.
Right.
No, I haven't been to Croatia before. Country number 4 from memory. So this should be our last actual border checkpoint because we're going back into the EU. rest stop there if I wanted to rest. But I don't need to rest, I've got plenty of time. No, I'm not going to stop in the parking lot, there's no real need to. It's a good sized parking lot though. Plenty of room for trucks. Another checkpoint. Now it's so easy to cross borders in truck simulators, and even in the Middle Eastern truck simulators, it's so easy to cross borders to what it would be like in real life. Like I saw on some videos the amount of queuing that the trucks have to do to get across some of the borders in the Middle East, and it's like, wow. Now in one of the episodes that I had to scrap, basically drove from, I think it was near Dover. I started north of London, avoided London, went down to Dover, caught the ferry over to Calais, and then I did a lot of motorway driving. And I basically, once I got into France, I didn't see another traffic light until we ended up right at the destination, and even then I didn't see any traffic lights, because we're in a country area. And basically the laneway that I had to deliver a bunch of forklifts, I think. It's absolutely ridiculous, the narrow lane that they were trying to squeeze me down to deliver these forklifts. It was ridiculous. You know, Farmer Joe and his tractor would have got down there, but that was about it. But it's just amazing when we're talking about finding out what's going on in the Middle East and that sort of thing. And when I was in high school, obviously I learned what I needed to learn, and there was nothing really about the Middle East or current events or whatever. And it was only as a result of playing or driving my simulated truck that I was actually interested in learning what was going on in the Middle East and what it actually looked like, to see how close it was simulated. I reckon in total, while I was recording the 4 episodes of Middle Eastern Truck Simulator that I recorded in the first batch, I reckon I spent as much time recording those 4 episodes. In between, I spent around about the same amount of time watching documentaries of various facets of Middle Eastern life, and it's only basically scratched the surface. And I was watching some videos, and there was I like borders and that sort of thing, different countries and that sort of thing. And to me, it really I'll get some fuel. It's a real step back in a time machine.
Okay, let's find a new route.
Just getting fuel, Skynet, it's all good. It's really interesting to see what life is like in North Korea and compare that to South Korea. And, you know, once you get into a YouTube wormhole, it can be very hard to get out. And there was one, I've got a full tank of fuel, 9 hours of driving time remaining, 612 k's. I'll drive as far as I can tonight, and then it'll be a short, that'll see Tuesday through, and then it'll be a short drive on Wednesday. Then we'll be done and we'll still be early. After watching some things about the Middle East, I watched various people, travel vloggers and that sort of thing, sharing their Middle Eastern experiences. And then there was one guy that I was watching and I was very impressed with the way that he handled it. He just wasn't doing it from a wow, this is how much of a good time I'm having in wherever I am. It was very put together, very realistically, in a journalistic documentary sort of a way. Very empathetic with the locals that he'd meet up with, and that sort of thing. And so I watched quite a few more of his videos. I ended up following him from the Middle East to his experiences in the Middle East, and then I watched his videos from North Korea, and each episode's about 20 minutes long, so it's not as if he's there stuck for hours, but you want to watch one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then after that, after I watched videos in North Korea, I thought, well, where else has he been? And then I'd say that he'd been to Chernobyl and around the Ukraine, and the Chernobyl area is a very interesting area after the the nuclear reactor meltdown, etc., which happened, I think, from memory, in 1986. So I would have been that would have been like the end of primary school, so I wasn't taking much notice of all events. It was always something in high school that I knew that it had happened, but I didn't take more of an interest of it until I was an adult. And, I could get onto the internet and see various things about it. Place that this guy had gone to, and he really interacted well with the locals that he was on, and he had some fun when he could. Obviously, if you're in a war-torn section of Syria, for instance, you're not going to be having a lot of fun, but you can still emphasise with the locals that are there. People would invite them into their houses and that sort of stuff to see how they live. But he'd have fun when he can. And then while I'm watching these videos, I'm thinking the accent sounds a little bit familiar. And the guy's actually a Kiwi. So not that he needs my shout outs, but shout out to Nick, Indigo Traveller on YouTube. Fascinating bloke, really fascinating style of, not just your usual, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, smash the button, hear the bell, watch me have fun in Serbia. And he's also does working with charities and that sort of thing as well, so it's a really good watch. said, I've watched him in parts of the Middle East. Probably haven't watched all of his Middle Eastern videos yet. North Korea and Chernobyl. There's some more on Ukraine. When he was in Ukraine, obviously around the time that he was in Chernobyl. That I'd like to have a look at, and that'll probably be my next series of videos that I'll watch. And it's really interesting when you find somebody and they've got a big back catalogue of videos, and then you just work your way through them. And if you want to work your way through my back catalogue, there's quite a few there as well. And so what I've basically done, there's a whole heap of videos, and I'm not necessarily recording every single week, because it does depend on what I'm doing in my place of employment and real life, etc. But I do have a release schedule for when episodes do come out, if I've recorded episodes. So on Mondays,
keep right and then turn right.
Mondays is motorsport, and
turn right.
It's also emergency services role plays.
Keep left.
Keep left, alright, emergency services role plays. So that's Mondays. Tuesdays is transport, so things like the truck simulator that you're watching now, and also buses as well. So trucks and buses on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays is what I call Workshop Wednesdays. So that's things like train station renovation, train mechanic simulator,
keep right,
bus mechanic
and then
simulator,
exit right.
that sort of thing. So I call them Workshop Wednesday. And then
exit right.
Thank you, Skynet. And then also, it gets a little bit wacky on Wednesdays as well with motorsport. With Wreckfest, which is basically like Demolition Derby and Demolition Racing. And also Monster Jam, which is monster trucks. That's on Wednesdays. On Thursdays is trains and now trams. I've moved Tram Simulator to Thursdays. So any transport on rail is Thursdays. Fridays, Farm Simulator Fridays or Farming Fridays, and also Flight Simulators. And then on the weekends is Sports Ball, or what I call Sports Ball. So any sporting simulations that I do is on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. Easy way to keep up with what I'm doing. Subscribe on YouTube, Simulator Dirt Gaming on YouTube. There's various playlists. There's a whole heap of simulators that I've got queued up that I haven't even started using yet. That'll get added with those categories. Another tailgate. So it's 6 PM Tuesday. I'll keep driving as long as I can tonight. My fatigue meter's not in the red yet, so that's good. I want to be able to drive trucks like that, smaller trucks, that'd be nice.
Keep left.
My fatigue meter's good. My fuel's good because I filled up at the last fuel stop, so I might not need to stop again for fuel. What I'll probably do is keep on driving as far as I can tonight, have a double rest stop, and then complete the rest Wednesday, and we'll be heaps early. And done tonight, and I don't want to drive through the night anyway. So when the fatigue meter starts going into the red, well then I'll find a rest stop. Making great time. I don't mind him putting toll gates on these motorways. See if I can go to a lane that's actually open this time. Generally, if I follow another truck, that's good. I was saying in Euro trucks, the Middle Eastern trucks, that if I was at a border checkpoint and if I had a choice of lanes to go to, and this is a good tip if you're crossing borders in general, if you've got a choice of lanes,
keep right and then exit right.
If you've got a choice of lane,
exit right.
Don't go behind a bus. Because especially if they want to check the passports of everyone on that bus, there could be 50 people on the bus and luggage and that sort of thing. So if you're at a border checkpoint and you've got a choice, don't go behind a bus because you could be there for a while. It won't be on a motorway anymore. This will be strange. Okay, another border checkpoint. We're in the EU, so where are we going? I don't know. What I haven't noticed. Hang on. What I haven't noticed in Europe compared to American Truck Simulator are vehicle inspections. Did I get stuck? Alright, let's have a look. Yeah. What have I got behind me? I've got old mate behind me, so I don't like reversing this way because it's not very realistic, but I don't want to be here for 5 hours either. And I'm already causing a traffic jam. Okay now, but I'm probably not. Let's get back in the truck. I think I'm pretty much okay now. Famous last words. I'm almost there. Look at the amount of trucks that are waiting. I mustn't be. There's not much. A little bit more oomph. Don't know if that's making things worse or better. Ah! Not stuck by much. I'm so not stuck by much. There we go. That was because that was a last minute decision to go into this lane. Well, you really get your sweat up in that situation. Overall, my driving's went pretty good this episode. Just that little. We've got to go through here again. I think I'm going to be better this time. Checking documents again. We're in Hungary now. I have been to Hungary before. So we're not in the EU anymore, so hence the reason of the
Keep left.
water check. Still got my diff lock on. That would have been very, very bad. Still got a little bit of time in the fatigue meter. This little bit's going to be hard driving into the sun at the end of a long day's driving. We're in Slovenia now. Hey, wait a minute. I saw an EU sign then, and I didn't have to pass a border checkpoint. So we're in Slovenia now for anyone who's keeping up at home. When we have our next rest break, we should actually have a look at the map. Well, we'll do that at the end of the episode. We'll have a look at the map and show you where we've driven. Driving as I can tonight. Still got 5 hours of driving time remaining. 360 k's. Coming up to 8:30. If I see a rest stop, it'd probably be a good idea to have a sleep.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Thank you, Skynet.
Turn right.
Let's try and park a little bit nicely. Alright, so we're going to stop the engine. Going to have a little bit of a rest, but in the meantime, while we're having a rest, here's some of what else is going on across Simulated Erk. Whoops, didn't mean to end it there, but we did end it there. Middle Eastern Truck Simulator, also a part of Simulated Erk. Going back to driving mode, and we'll have a look and see how long we have to go. Let's have our sleep. Gonna do a double sleep. Actually, no, we'll just do a single sleep. It's 6:30 in the morning now. We'll say good morning to Skynet. 6:30 in the morning. So today being Wednesday, we can complete our load. We've still got 4 hours of driving remaining. 284 kilometers. We'll do it easily today, and we'll be still about 24 hours early. Now, what I could have really done, although I didn't know there was a rest area on the other side, rest area on the other side. Now I can cross the border. I could have easily have just driven the way that I was going to drive, but I didn't. We're now in Austria, so our last country that we'll be in, the last border we'll cross, and that was a rather simple border, an EU style border, just drive straight through. 4 hours of driving in beautiful daylight, half a tank of fuel remaining, so we should get there on this tank of fuel.
Go straight on.
And hopefully back onto another motorway. So a longer episode, but it has been a while for Euro Truck Sim. And we've certainly gone a long distance on a long drive. I like these long drives. You know, what you can do, it's now been basically 2 hours of driving from the Middle East. The Middle Eastern portion will be on episode 5 of Middle Eastern Truck Simulator. And the rest is what you're watching now. The long distance trucking is about. You know, going through all these different countries, it's still even though I've been to Europe and been a lot of places in the world, and there's still a lot more to explore. Being an Australian, it's fascinating just to be able just to drive a truck from the Middle East and drive into Europe and drive across all these countries in Eastern Europe and Western Europe and end up where we're going to end up. I don't usually overtake trucks, but this guy's towing a tractor, so very little dramas on this trip, which has been nice. Being able to do it all in daylight, and that's the thing. Once you've got a long trip that you're making, like on this one, you might have the personality where you like driving at night and you can sleep easily during the day. Might like driving at night because there's less traffic. And on these long trips you can do that. And it also depends partly on when you pick the load up as well. And a big factor here for this one was the fact that there was a 31-hour ferry journey. Once I got from Jordan to the dock in Israel, I basically knocked that section off in an afternoon. Then there was the 31-hour ferry trip. And it looks like that I'm going to do this. I'm going to get the load delivered with 24 hours to spare. And that was with taking a double rest stop. My first rest stop, I did a double rest stop. So I can drive fully in the daytime. to have leeway available in case you have a truck breakdown, you get lost, you need a bit extra sleep, or whatever, you know, bad traffic, you know, queues at border checkpoints. You know, we've got through all of our border checkpoints pretty easily. Even that one where I got stuck. You know, it's nowhere like crossing a border checkpoint with a truck. In real life.
Go straight on.
Thank you, Skynet. So, how many countries have we been together now, Skynet? I don't use her in the American Truck Simulator series because I like to use the voice of Mr. Morgan Freeman. But I've really developed Skynet into a personality of her own. She's been with me on these Europe trips, in the Middle East, in Japan. Really looking forward to getting back to Japan Truck Simulator when I can. When it gets updated to the next version, that would be really good. There's been improvements made to the maps. 700 metres to a petrol station, probably won't need it, so I'll just keep going. Haven't seen a lot of the actual cities, just been driving on the motorway, and yeah, so I've spent a fair bit of time driving in these European cities, or these European countries, but I haven't really been through a town. But that's often the way of, Esso. But that's often the way of driving, trucking. I remember, it's really weird, when I was in primary school, so mid-80s, mid-1980s, we used to have, next to my primary school across the road, there used to be an Esso. And I can remember, this was before unleaded petrol came to Australia. I started primary school there next to the Esso service station in 1984. We started the conversion to unleaded petrol in 86. And for super, which would now be called leaded petrol, it was 45 cents a litre back in 1984. And so Esso died out, in Australia at least. Still a thing overseas, but Esso in Australia wasn't a thing. And interestingly, the Caltex brand in Australia is changing over to Ampol, and Ampol was an Australian petrol company for many years.
Keep right and then exit right.
They rebranded, and now it's a thing with
Exit right.
rights to use the name in Australia for Caltex is expiring, and so Ampol, their brand of Ampol is being brought back. And I remember ages ago, I can't remember what year it was, but for many years growing up and as a young adult, petrol was below $1 a litre, and so much so, like classic example, the Esso service station near my high school and near my primary school was 45 cents a litre. So it was quite some time before it went over $1 a litre. And so everything on the signs were geared towards cents per litre. And so the price kept on going up and up and up and up, and it, got into the 50 cents a litre, and then it got into, 60, 70, 80, 90 cents a litre. And then once it started getting to in the 90s, the fuel companies who owned the petrol stations and operated the petrol stations, they started to think, oh no, all of our signs and all of our pumps have been designed on, say, 45.9 cents a litre. They're not set up for dollars per litre. Whereas now, you might say pay $1.50 a litre and all of the pumps and all of the signage has been converted. But it took some time. And I think between the oil companies, they're like, the price is going up and we'll have to charge over $1 a litre eventually. But they also needed time to change their signs, update their petrol pumps and everything like that so they could show it. Some of the older equipment didn't have room for the extra digit. And I can remember a lot of the service stations for a long time stayed at 99.9 cents a litre. Now some of that was because of the signage conversion, but some of it was psychological. I don't think anybody wanted to be the first fuel company to go over $1 a litre. But once it went up, oh boy, it went up. And once one went, they all went. So 34 kilometres to go, 28
Keep
kilometres
right,
to go.
and then turn right.
About half an hour of driving remaining. So yeah, it was a huge...
Turn right.
That's a huge psychological thing about when... who was going to be the first...
Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right.
Thank you, Skynet. Who was going to be the first to break that 99 cent barrier? And it's the same today with other things. We haven't had in Australia 1 and 2 cent coins for years and years and years. And the Treasury and the Mint announced that they were going to round up to the nearest 5 or 10 cents or to the nearest dollar or whatever it happened to be. But a lot of things are still, say, $7.99. Although a bigger example might be the difference between $9.99 compared to $10. So if you have a credit card transaction, which a lot of the ones are done electronically, they'll still charge you the 99 cents. Whereas if you were to pay cash, another city discovered. Interestingly, it's the first city that we've actually discovered on this trip. That's interesting. I've never seen that flashing green before the yellow, so it was a flashing green, so that means it's about to go amber then red. That's interesting. Flashing green. Hadn't seen it before. So they'll charge you the exact if it's a credit card, but they'll round up if it's not, or round down, usually up. So this is the first actual city that I've seen, and that would have been the first traffic light that I've seen since leaving the Middle East. So it's Wednesday morning, just after 11 AM. We've got 3 kilometres, 8 minutes to go. So we're going to be just under 24 hours. There's 28 hours 43 minutes remaining in our actual window. So we're well and truly early. We're just under a full day early. So we've done very, very well. So we've had a good trip. I've really enjoyed going through all the different countries. It's been a long trip, nearly 2 hours of recording time in this section, plus the half hour of the Middle Eastern section. So in reality, we're like 2.25 hours of actual recording time. But it's been fun, and I hope you have enjoyed it. There's that flashing green light again. Gotta stop the traffic light, Skynet. That's interesting. I hadn't seen that before in any other the European countries that I've driven in Euro Truck Sim, and I've never been to Austria in real life, so one kilometre to go. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Also check out if you haven't already, the Middle Eastern Truck Series, the American Truck Series, and the Japan Truck Series.
Keep right, and then turn right.
And as you've seen, there's lots going on around Simulator.
Turn right.
And I hope you have enjoyed it. Yeah, I can go now. Almost there.
Turn right. Turn right.
So we'll just have a quick look at our road before we go. Oh, we've got a traffic jam. Whoops.
Finally, we are here.
Oh, finally, we're here. Thank you, Skynet. Lots of fun. It was a long trip, but certainly an enjoyable one. Almost a full day early, which is fantastic. Let's drive in a little bit more. So we have arrived Oh, there's a locomotive over there. What I've also learned how to do, by the way, I hate how you've got to start there, but wow, look at that. Hang on, we'll zoom, go over here a bit. Maybe that was too much. Wow, that's cool. It's a small shunting locomotive. So maybe what we should do is get our truck near it, because someone else is going to park it. Whoops. So there we go. There's our locomotive, and we'll just drive our truck a little bit further forward so we can see the whole cab. There we go. So there's the locomotive. I dare say that these might even be the bogies for it. So we have made our delivery. I've been Simulator Dirk. You've been wonderful. We've just made it to level 15. Almost 1,600 kilometres driven. 93 hours taken. 31 of those hours was on the ferry. We had 3 rest periods of about 8 hours each. So there's another 24 hours and the rest driving time. Level 14 proficiency bonus, long distance delivery bonus, high value cargo bonus, and we made it. 93 hours taken to deliver that from the Middle East. From the Middle East to Austria.